Okay, what's up, guys? Are you ready? I see less people today. It's not that fun anymore, or what?
Because it was difficult.
What is difficult?
You know, you killed those people.
Yeah.
Homework.
Homework.
Yes.
Okay.
For me, it was difficult to understand what they want from me.
Mm.
You know, for example, honestly, for example, when they wrote make a function and put the empty object, I couldn't understand it.
Okay.
You know, I have something to say even about the comment that you said to declare the empty the variable inside the function, not outside. But if you read the follow exercise, you need the function outside because you have to call it in the other function.
Okay. Yeah,
I mean that was my point of view.
Okay.
When I call it inside, they
Yeah.
give me error that is not declared in the other exercise.
Okay.
Or just the other way, I don't know.
Yeah, probably we can have a look, but I told last class that it's okay if you don't do the function and object homework because we didn't talk in the class. So we'll talk about here. But yeah, I also have seen the homework. There's nothing but a function or object. Everything related to function and object, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. But I managed to review Iana's, right?
Yeah.
Not you. Joanna, right?
Joanna.
Your homework, maybe. Yeah, it's good one. And after you guys submitted, but I was, as I mentioned in the channel, I was not super active in the Friday and Saturday. And I have an issue with the Slack. Do you also see this one?
Update the app.
Yeah, I did million times, maybe 100 times at least. But it still keep giving me this. I don't know how to solve it. Anyone have any tricks? So help me. Later on, it's okay. Don't do it now. Okay. So today we have only two topics remaining: function and object. So the idea is we'll have a quick look what is the function and objects are, and then we'll do some fun experiment with them, building a sort of a real application with a real homepage or website. So, have you ever anyone tried that JavaScript and HTML CSS together, like working together?
I have done it a little bit.
You have done a little bit. Anyone more? Any more? Anybody more? So, you did also. So we can try the same exercise today here in the class. So we'll write some HTML CSS code and then also use JavaScript so that they can talk each other, right? That will be much fun because now we are writing everything in the console. We don't know why it's needed, right? What's the application of writing a JavaScript code? So we'll try that. And after, if you have time, definitely I want to go through the homework so we can have a look together and solve it together, okay? And probably this will cover that I didn't review your homework, so you can validate the homework. How far you are there, right? Okay. So with saying that, can you guys see from the distance? Really? Otherwise, we can just move some chair or table. Or you guys can come there, right?
It's just against the light. I don't know because I'll have to turn my
It's fine. Yeah, you can please turn on the light so it will be visible, I guess. Yeah, now it's better, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. Let's look at the object first because object is kind of a data type. So then we can look at the function later. So everybody has a clear understanding of object, or I shared this both link in the Slack channel. Did you guys manage to go through this page? This is a very good documentation. It's step by step wise is explaining. Look at here. If you scroll down, you can see this is the category or what thing you can learn from the functions. So see here. I don't know. It's not that much readable for me. Maybe I can screen it. Yeah. Much. Okay. Now it's been better. So. Yeah, quick intro about object. Object is another kind of data type. Okay, so we have learned how many kinds of data types are? 7, 6 maybe, I don't remember. Integer, sorry, number, string,
Boolean, array,
array, yes, So many kinds, right? So only the difference between all the other type of variable and object is only one thing, that other kinds of data type is primitive, meaning that they can contain only one single type of value. An object, on the other hand, is like a composition of every kind. Like you can define sort of a variable that can have a string, number, array, object, everything, even object itself. So this kind of data is called object. So all you need to declare an object is like same way you define a const or let, and then declare a name, and the syntax is this one, the bracket sign. So this is the syntax. So it's also mentioned here is a primitive type. So it's a non-primitive variable type. So primitive means it can contain only one type of value. An object can contain multiple type of value. That's the basic difference. So you can see here how can we create an object. So these are the two ways we can create. And don't get confused if you see this kind of a complex syntax like new object. So this is basically, probably you will learn more in advanced JavaScript module. Also, you will learn a lot in Node.js as well. So as it mentioned that when you declare this way, you can assign a constructor. So constructor is an idea when you declare an object. So imagine the object is a box, right? So they mentioned here is a box, right? So to relate with realistic thing, let's say you have a box in your home, right? So if you have a box, if you open the box, what you can see in the box?
Socks,
Yeah.
shirts,
And any more ideas? There's two ways.
items,
Different
different,
kind of
different.
Things,
you know?
yes. So there's two ways you can see. Either the box is empty,
Yeah.
or it has something, right?
Yeah.
So if you declare this way, that means the empty box. So you're always empty. But if you're declaring this way, it has two possibilities. You can either have empty if you are not passing anything here, or you can say, okay, whenever open the box, it should contain these things. Let's say toolbox. You want to open a toolbox, right? You want to see a screwdriver or something. It should be always be placed there. Otherwise, I will not work. It will not, meaningful. Define it, or you can decide to have an empty box so you can fill up anything. These are two ideas, right? But you'll learn a lot more in future. Just a hint. Does it make sense?
Yeah. So in other way, it's better to take the second.
It based on need. If you prefer that I am okay with the empty box, take it to an empty one. If you say no, when I open the box, I want to see these tools in place, then I can put more inside because it's needed.
At least it doesn't give you any problem later when you're writing down, because
Let's assume-
when you classify that it's empty, it will be empty until you either fill it up. So you know that it's empty.
Yeah. Let's assume that you have a purse, right? In your purse, what do you have? You have a different kind of credit card or different cards, but you can also put some money and penny, right? The coin inside. So whenever you take a purse, you expect that your card should be there. But money, it can change. I can put more, less, take it out, something like that. So you can define, okay, it should be something there always. This kind of concept, okay? Yeah. And this is the syntax. Also, you can, if you don't have to define empty, so you can also put some in the middle, in the beginning, initial.
Excuse me, if we want to make an empty object, how we should make it?
Let's I open my, what do you say, terminal.
Sorry to ask, are you recording?
Yes. You remind me.
Everything is gone for that recording.
I think it's good. Then you can have a second look at home. So code. Okay. So let's say here using const, let whatever you say. So I'm defining const. What should I call it? User, right? So I define this way, right? New object. This was the one.
Okay. And it's the same as array. We can access inside of the brackets by coding, yes?
1 second. Yeah, what are you saying?
Let me show you now.
So this is an empty object. It has nothing, right? Yeah. So what is your question before?
I said it's look like an array. If we want to put some data inside of the object, we can access from writing the code.
Yes, yes. Okay, let's try this. Just quick. It's easy to copy paste. You know that. So will it work?
No.
Why?
Yes, it will work.
Now it will work.
It will show name and
So now the object has something, right? So don't argue now why you define the new other syntax, right? This way. So this is a special type you will learn later. So it's an instant. There are many other theory. It's in the background. I don't want to go there. So just stick to this. So this is an object, right? And how do we access the object information like name? If you want to read the name only, John.
User dot name.
Dot name. This way. So
Or square bracket.
or square bracket, yeah, exactly, yes. So this is an object, and so object has what? What is this one?
Key.
It's a property. Yeah. So object has one property, right? Let's say the box. One thing's one property. It means one asset for you, right? And how to call this property? It should have a key, really, to identify what is this. It has nothing to do with the string number or anything. It's just name, ID, and then you put the value there, right? And in the right hand side. That's the thing. So to access the object, we need to use the key, never value, right? So we can see the results here, John. And you can also, as you mentioned, we can also access this way. Right?
No, it should be in the bracket. I don't know. How to call it.
Quotations?
Quotation, yeah.
Not this one.
Yeah.
Yes.
That one.
Yeah, this way. But what if, let's say, name, right? And as I told you, name can have object can have multiple object as well, right? So if I say first name, John,
Lennon.
John what?
Lennon. John
No,
Lennon.
Badr.
Biedia. They keep the entire week making joking about it.
That's why I want to fix it. Okay, so okay, how do I now access only last name, Badr?
Name.
I want to show Badr only here.
Okay, name and then make a new.
Like normally I can do this one, name dot
First name.
last name, right?
Does it work?
Yeah.
I don't think it works.
Let's see.
It works.
I think it will not work.
No.
It will work.
Yeah.
It's like the CD, you know. It's like the CD in the terminal day.
But I saw people they put brackets inside of the
Yeah.
bracket.
That's true. So we can go through the more insight to this one, so we can see this example as well, like you mentioned.
Okay.
Okay. So this is the one that alert. It's just nothing but. So here, yeah, you can use any type of value, boolean, string, as you know. Okay, the other important thing is that, so as I mentioned that the property has the left, the colon is divided by the property, right? So left side is called the key, and right side is the value. So the left side should, you can decide to have a string code here. It's up to you, or leave it like this. But if you have a key with a multiple word, then it's must to have a string.
If there is a space between.
But yeah, like this one, like they're like birds, likes birds. Yeah. So if it's
it
like
doesn't have
that,
to be space inside.
yeah. So if you say okay, my name like this, then it should be with this quotation, right? Multiple properties. Yes. Okay. So I'm coming to your question. Like this one. So if I say don't use the dot, sorry, if I use the dot, it doesn't work because it has a space, right? So in that case, we only can have one option within array syntax, right? The third bracket and then and then with a quotation mark like this one, like this one, like this. Yeah, and the reserved keyword, you cannot use these keywords, right? You know these keywords, right?
Yeah.
In the first class, I told you the reserved keywords, let, const, for, function, return. You cannot use them as a.
When you reach to the function, please explain a little bit more about return.
We are not in the function yet.
Okay, when you reach.
Yeah, we'll reach the function. So just quickly exploring what else it has.
What is for? For is to one. I've never used it.
Yeah, says you cannot use this. It's not allowed.
Okay.
So you cannot do it like this way.
Okay.
Just an example.
All right.
I think that's it. Is there any more question in the object
Yeah,
itself?
I do have a question.
Yes.
You know, before when you call the first example, you know, of the object,
Mhm.
you go up to the first example, how you fill up our object
Yeah.
with name and age.
Yes.
That I want to ask is there is any, you know, strength of showing which one is the first, because when you copy that in your API, and you send it to the console, so you see it on the website, it gives you age first, not name first.
So should we try again? So you mean that this is the one?
Yeah.
And then if I console the user, it's saying name first, right? Oh, age, like this way, this one. It has no ordering. No, it doesn't matter.
Okay. And how you separate them? The age doesn't have any semicolon or colon or comma.
I didn't get it.
You know, to separate the objects, you have
Yes.
at the end of the first object, you have to make at the end of the first. I don't know how you call it. Name. How you call it? An object.
Mm?
You make-
User is the name.
Oh.
Object. Here, user is the object, and name is the property.
Okay, so the proposite.
Property.
At the end of the first proposite, you put a comma.
Comma. Yes.
And then after the age, the second proposite, you don't put any comma.
This is
So the
last.
comma is just to separate. You don't use the any
Yes.
semicolon or
Yeah,
something. So
no.
you just put separate.
Yeah, comma is a separation. Yeah. So if you put comma here, it will not harm you. It's just okay.
It's okay.
See here,
doesn't
it
give
is just
any
okay,
error.
yeah.
It doesn't give you.
But-
Didn't define the second.
Yeah.
or the-
But if you want to have a next one like a mail address something, then you must need a comma. Otherwise, it will start giving a alert error
Yeah.
because it's not syntax cannot be understood by the code. Yeah. Yes. Any more question in object? No. So we can go to the function because it will take a bit longer time, and then we'll try. Okay. How many you managed to go through function? And rest or not? You didn't manage to write anything or?
Just a little bit of it, not much.
Okay. Can anybody confident to explain what is function?
It's a calling process.
How to
It's kind of a formula that we make to execute certain stuff that we want in our program.
Any more? If you just read this, at least this first section, it verifies that you have clicked the link I shared.
Function actually does a specific process, and it helps you a lot in your program because if you need to redo that process, you don't have to type everything again. You just have to call the specific function names.
something that
It's
you
like a formula,
Mm.
probably where it you have it as a structure where in subsequent parts of the code to use that same formula in the initial formula that you
Yeah.
so in there you just pass in the information or the parameters.
Any more thoughts?
I don't know what is function means. Definitely what is function means, but I don't know. It's part of the how they call it an action that you use on your program that make define stuff, define thing, and you have just to call it. You can use it in your program whenever you want. Just call it.
Yeah, that's true.
But I don't know what is function is. That's any meaning or something. That I can.
Maybe it's a series of commands that tell the object to do stuff according to certain parameters. Like you do this according to this.
Yes.
It simplifies actually. Instead of you writing the code like this inside the solution again, and you want to use it, you just have to call the function because the formula that you write, you have to put it inside the curly brace.
Yeah.
Braces inside the function. So anytime that you need to do it again, you can just change probably the value inside of those things instead of writing the whole stuff, which makes the code a little bit complex.
Do you have any input? You?
No, I have same thing. I think function is a kind we can reuse. You need to write a lot of the function. For example, you want the console after you done, so you have to write the console so many times. But when you use function, you only write one time and can use so many times.
I think I was looking for this one
The
actually.
set of statements.
So basically, a function, a special thing, but sometimes you can serve up with the function as well. It's not that I don't know. So basically, the function is like when your code is are really long, right? There are many applications we use function that to separate the code first. Separate the code is one way. And the basic important part is the using function is like a repetition, like he mentioned, you mentioned as well. So whenever we have some statement, some code that repeating all time in different sections, so we can group them, we can club them, bundle them together, and put it one place, and then we can just recall it. We call it again, and then it just do the same thing all time. So basically, function is the main building blocks in new programming. And we use function when we see a repetition, at least one more than once. So if you see a line, you need to write twice, then it's advisable that you declare a function and put it there. So we can reuse it, right? Yes. This is the main objective, and also to separate the code, like one functionality. If you remember, we were writing a lot of codes here, right? If we're hungry stuff, all this thing, right? So the stuff is going bigger and bigger, right? So we can just categorize them. How do you categorize? With a function, or even with some other thing like classes and many other programming way you can split them. So function is kind of do this kind of job. So this is pretty basic, but we will learn more using what function can do for us, and basically the exercise we will do together, like building a home page. that there we will be really learning use case why we should declare function, because if you did the homework, it is not clearly you cannot validate why it's needed. We can do without function as well, this kind of work, why we need this one. So that's one we also can validate that in the exercise. Okay, so first thing first, how to declare a function? Always like variable, we should need some keyword, right, to declare it, to identify it. This is the keyword function. You always declare the function and a name to call it the function, and this is the bracket syntax. All this syntax is needed, but this also syntax optimized in ES6. So you will see in advanced JavaScript this is defining a different way, so don't get confused. Like in the previous class, Christopher was showing some for in something, and there I told you the arrow function. So there's a very what is it, shortcut version of the writing a function. So basically it does behind the scene, this is the original syntax of the function declaring. Yeah, and it mentioned what is which part is what, name and the parenthesis and body, and you declare this way.
Do we have some built-in functions that we can call?
Yes. Does anyone know any built-in function?
Sorry, what was
Does anyone know built-in function? Built-in means that you know what is built-in, right? What is built-in?
Built in.
Built.
Built in, like function that the program recognizes without even specifying.
Yeah. But built-in, like in general, it comes out of the box. You don't have to do it. It already exists. And any example, like in JavaScript, we have a built-in function. Tons of examples of that.
Log. Console log.
Console.log, yes.
Alert.
Alert, yes. Yes. So these are the actually we have used million times. These are the function. So basically, when you write console.log and bracket things, it is executing maybe I don't know how many lines inside. It is executing a lot of codes to do just to output our information here. So it is executing maybe hundreds of lines. So this is a function example of function, because we are using console.log of many times, right? So if you are writing only one time, probably it's okay to write 100 lines of code in here. But if you are doing more and more, so it makes sense that we can combine them and then give it a name, then it can do the job. Okay. So we'll see in function can do what in if you scroll down, start scrolling. So first look at the variables. You have some confusion with the local variable and the global variable, right? Do you know what is local variable and global variable?
Local variable. Local variable that declares
inside of
the function.
So basically, the local variable is like if you declare anything inside of these curly braces, it remains only there. And if you are outside here, it doesn't know.
You can access to outside of the brackets, but
Yeah.
the out
Yeah.
the code is in outside, they cannot access inside.
Yeah. So basically, let's say here's a simple function that calls show messages. I want to show the message, and then we declare a message variable. And then if you do it here, so it will, if we call the function, this is the way we call function. This is the way we declare function and we call function. This is the two keyword we should always remember: calling function and declaring function. Okay. So we are declaring here, defining, and here we are calling function. Okay, do this for me, right? So what you do this way, and then if we want to alert the message, it will say error because it doesn't know, right? Any confusion here? Please raise your confusion if you have any confusion, so it will be easier for me to do the exercise. Otherwise, it will be difficult. And outer function, it's basically I try to give you and you the global keyword. So basically, if you're writing outside of this one, it goes to global scope, right? It's out of the function. Then it's meaning that it is accessible, modifiable from any places, from inside this function, any other function. Okay. So here we are declaring a variable called username, and then what? We are using this username, just using it, right? Just not changing it. We are using it, and we can see this one. And here we are changing literally, maybe yes, username. We are changing the value, and it gets changed. Amina, does it make sense to you? Really? So do ask question. Why you don't which section or part you don't understand?
I don't really know. I'm trying to read, but it's a little bit difficult to read when listening, so I decided to listen.
Okay. No, please do ask question. Let's say if you have a question to the syntax, how to declare, and why should declare, why should we create a function? We will see in the exercise. I'll try to do convince you that we need a function for this case. That's for sure. But if you have something like the global variable, this is the place we can ask the question, and then how to define a syntax, right? And another important thing is the parameters. So here, if we are defining this function, right? What this function can do for us? This function. Show message. Let's assume you have a robot at home. Robot is not. It's very common to this.
Show you the message.
Huh?
Show you the message.
Forget about this one. You have a robot, right, at home?
You have what?
Robot.
Oh, okay.
Like
robot.
like you. Assistant, yes. A human robot. So if you ask the robot to do something, right? So it do for you, right? Can you give some example? What can it do for you?
Clean, I think. Like.
Let's say you can say, okay, make me a cup of tea.
Okay.
Make me a tea. So it will bring you a cup of tea, right? But if you say, okay, the robot can make a cup of tea for each of us. So how do you command this to robot to do this job?
Declare how many times.
You first command what to need to be done. Make a tea, and then for how many people. You define. It's always change. The cup of tea is maybe a static thing. It can only make tea. But you can change the quantity. You can say this time make 2, this time 3, this time make for the whole classes, right? So this function can do only this static thing. It no matters. It will not change. What it do? It only can. You can only change the name. Then it can display the different name. That's it. But if you want to say okay, when do you can change the name? Like for this one.
You can write show message, and in the brackets you can give property.
If I execute this code, okay. So it is showing hello Bob, right? And if I want to change the name Bob to Amira, what should I do?
You can just change the name value.
Name value, right?
Outside of the
Here, right?
No, above. The username inside the function.
So it was defined as John first, right? And now it's changed to Bob because I changed here, right? So I have to say here. This way. So it is very easy for us because here we can we have the access to code, so we can just change it, right? So.
But it didn't go below Amira.
It says John.
Yes.
Because sorry.
It didn't save it.
Oh man, it's too much.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, it's saying twice because what?
You
I'm
John.
I declared this 2 alert messages. Anyway, so we have the access to code that's easy for us to change here, right? But it's not the real case. Whenever we use some application, some software in mobile phone or in the computer, we cannot access the code, right? We always have some interface that can take our input, some input field or some way we can instruct, but we cannot go to the code. So that's then it's not easy to change. So in that case, we can somehow receive the input from the user and then pass it to the function to change it.
Yeah.
So this is the parameter. We pass it here and it will change for us.
So here we need to.
Sorry?
Yeah.
Parameters?
Parameters, yeah.
Yeah, in from function show message from, it's another comment.
Sorry?
Function show message has 2 parameters.
Yes, 2 parameters, yes.
From and text, but from another color. it's keyboard
Oh, another color?
yeah.
Okay, is okay.
Because from is
Let's try.
another function or another code.
They're the same.
Same here. For some reason, I don't know why it's showing the color here. Let's see if it's giving any error.
Because from is another function.
No, it's not here. It's just a variable. From next, see here. So a parameter, yes. So we are
They're like from N or from Abed or from Omid and text. It's a calling variable, a parameter.
I think this is a nice example. See here, we are showing the messages for different people, right? So in the in another example before that one, here, see here. For the first section, I'm showing the message. I change from John to Amira, that's fine. Then no matter what, I call it 10 million times. It will show what? Exactly same messages. It will show always hello Amira, that's it. It will not change. But how can I change for different people? If I, call so messages, next time it will show different person name.
You change the parameter.
Yes. So this is the way we can achieve this one. So we pass the value whenever we're calling the function. It can do this basic part, but it can also modify things. It can change. So this is the way you can change. You can instruct. Okay. So I'm sending this name, for instance, to make it this way. I can say name, right? And then we use the name here, right? Not this name. And Amira here.
Now you're Baba.
I think it's much easier, right?
Yes.
Okay,
No
that's my
confusion.
real name.
Okay. So
Doesn't matter how much you try to deny.
see here, it's working. So each time I call it, it can show me a different message, right? Okay. Now there's a challenge. So
Is it a random message? Like, choose by itself?
sorry.
Like, is it a random message? I mean, like, why didn't I choose Amir instead of Bird?
Oh, it's the first
just
one. It's executing from
Executing from the top.
top to bottom. So it is from showing this line first, then this line, then this line. So if I want to say, okay, I don't want to say to any specific person. If I don't say it, then it should say hello to the class. How do I make it?
Hello.
How?
Just write it in this way.
Only hello.
So here I'm saying hello to, see here. Hello to Amira, right? It's replacing the name.
Yeah.
And here is butter, here, right?
Yeah.
Butter. And then here, if I don't say anything, I want to,
Hello.
oh yeah, you can say class, right?
Hello.
Excellent. You guys are smart, man. So it's doing it. But if I say, okay, no, I don't want to mention class. If I don't say anything, it should say the class.
Hello.
No, it will show the hello. Just hello.
No, it doesn't show you
No.
anything because to call a function, you have to, to set the parameter. If you don't set the parameter, it's just another function.
So first of all, it will give some error, right? And because see here, it will give some error here. Undefined. Because
You didn't
we
call
are
the
calling
parameter.
this function and this we are not passing anything, right?
Yeah.
But my intention is like whenever I say show message, it should default show. I mean it's a default behavior. If I don't say anything, it should say hello to class. There's two ways, right? One is if we can check the condition. If it is if name. So do you remember the true and falsy? If execute with the true and false, right?
Yeah.
So is it true? The undefined is true or falsy?
The truth.
Truly.
No, falsy. Right?
Right now, it's false.
It's false, right?
Yeah.
If it's false, right? then
What does it mean it's false?
Like the name is not equal to class anyway.
Okay.
then we can say, okay, fine. I don't want to make it complex. Let's do it this way.
So it's true.
Class, right?
And now it's
And else do that, right?
Okay. So now,
What?
no, you have to put the alert inside of the brackets, I think.
No. No, we have to show you the message anyway.
Message is not defined.
You have it is the other way.
I think you need to use this here as well.
Yes.
No, I think it's you have to flip them.
You're saying if name is not undefined, then we use.
So it's true.
No. The error is not. Error is not about the name. It says message is not defined. Yes. So basically, the thing is that it's not declared here. It's a scope, right? So probably you can just declare here. This is the way you can get rid of. There are many ways, like you mentioned. So if I move this line inside these two places, right? Here it will work, but then I have to declare here as well, right? Twice. So I don't want to do it twice. So I choose the other way. So I am doing it here, and it's okay now. See, hello class every time, or what?
No, it shouldn't be like that. It should be Amira,
I think-
brother, and class.
Hello class. Oh, how many times is showing?
Because it's changed. It's not, the if is true. The if is true. It should be the message down. It should be up, and the message in the if it should be in the earth.
They need to change
Because name is true.
They change them as well.
We have
There should be if name, message equals hello plus name.
okay.
You okay?
No, yeah, it's the same thing, yeah.
Wow.
What is that?
See.
Yes.
And then class, yeah.
Yeah, class. Yes.
I don't understand.
What is the exclamation mark?
Okay, okay. It's to make it reverse, opposite.
Okay.
So if you want to change it opposite meaning, then it's a exclamatory mark mean opposite.
Okay.
But you could change the
Like
code
this
as
way.
well.
For instance,
No, okay.
It-
Exclamation means if it's not.
see, not, yes.
True.
See here, if this line will execute if this value is truly, and true is truly, right? So if I want to make it not truly, how can I do it? I can say false, right?
Yeah.
False. Sorry. False. Or I can say this way.
Exclamation.
True.
Okay.
Not true. Does that mean not?
Not true means false, right?
All right.
This way. Make sense?
Yeah.
Yes. But actually, it was not my intention to do this way. I just, came here. I don't know how. But anyway, change it.
But it's good.
So see here, how many lines I have to write to doing it?
What?
How many lines I have to write?
1, 2, 3, 4.
Many lines, right? But I can also optimize this, all the coding. Very,
Yeah, with the column and the exclamation.
I can also achieve the same objective I have with this one as well. How?
with the column and the,
See here, what it's doing now? It's showing two names and undefined. Again, same back to the problem, right? So the another way you can achieve it, so you can define here class. So basically, it says that whenever you are defining the show message, it has this
Default is
two
value.
parameters, right, or argument. Anyway, so it is a default value. So I call it, and then it's a default value. And then whenever I call this function, and it has the value, then it replaces, right? It replaces this value to the name, and if it's empty, then there's nothing. Then it takes the default one.
it should be one equal, not two.
One equal, yeah.
Because if it's two, it gives you error.
And why is that?
The same value, same.
What is
type.
one equal means, and what is two
One
equal
is
means?
assigning.
Yes, and two
Two is comparing.
is. So one is assignment, two is comparing. It's a general sense, right?
And what's 3 equals?
It's also comparison with the type.
The type of.
Type of, yes. See here, it's working now. right? So that was my intention to show it anyway. So here's the default value. It's showing text. See default value here, right? So we just have to look at that. Yeah. And this way you can also see. Okay. You can also say undefined that way. So he basically did the if the name triple equal undefined, or you can say name not true to false, like this. Many ways you can define it. So another interesting thing is that here return value. This is the most interesting important. So here what we are doing it. We are just doing something and then showing the message to the outside world. We can see it here. It's showing all the time, right? You can see it. But there are many cases we do some half-baked code. For instance, you are doing something that not ready yet, premature. You want to do something, then when everything is done, then you want to show this one. So in that case, you write a function that can also don't show it to the world but can return value. Okay. Okay. That's true. I'm trying to looking for any example.
Because I read these articles 3 or 4 times, still I need to know.
Okay, I will not explain here, but just look at the syntax. What is the syntax means? But again, we will explain with the our project. We will do in few minutes. So to return a value, we need to define this declaration. So basically, so let's assume that our function is a bit smart now. It can do mathematics, right? We can sum up, add two number and then store it or return the value. So basically, the function has two parameters, a and b, and it's doing something and then returning the value, right? And then we are storing the value to result. We are calling the function and storing to result. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Not much.
No, I can understand.
Okay.
But I cannot understand what is written result. It could make it could give them how should I say? But why they write return here?
If like give me.
Yes. You have some better explanation for this one?
I have something maybe. Can you show an example of another function that doesn't have a return statement? Yeah, like this one. So any function, when you call it, a function will always return. And so if you don't have a return statement like this function, once the function reaches the end, where's the end? Is this the end?
Mm.
Once it reaches here, it just returns. And the default value it will return is undefined. So you don't have to tell it to return. So it's basically like every function in the end it says return. It just means the function ends here, I'm done. So the function is okay, I'm done, return. And then if you want to get like some value back from the function when you call it, so when we say show message, if we call this function down here, it will return a value to us. So if you say show message, maybe it will return the message to you. When you call it, then you get the message back. Okay, but if you don't tell it to return anything, it's going to return undefined. So it always returns. Sometimes it's undefined if you don't tell it to return anything, and if you tell it to return something, it could maybe be the text, the message, or something.
So whenever we want to get some information from the function, we use return.
Exactly. So like if we go down.
But in this case, alert is kind of return here, yes? Because when you it will give you the alert.
Except it doesn't give it to you; it gives it to the user in a different place. It's kind of So that's why I think they changed it later because it's not really that nice.
Okay.
But let's look at this one for example. So here we could, if we don't write return here and we just write sum, it's just going to add the two numbers together and it's just going to keep it for itself.
Yeah.
We will never know what the result is. But once you write return, then whatever you write after return, this is what you get back from the function when you call the function. So, why did they not call the function?
Yeah, exactly. That
Oh,
result
yeah,
is
okay.
sum.
So, if it didn't have, so you call the function here, right? And then whatever is returned by the function is what's going to be replaced here, and then it's going to be assigned to result. So the result gets whatever the function returns.
So return is a built-in function?
Yeah, but
Yes?
Yes, to
You can say
give
that.
us the result of anything that's defined in the function.
It's the, I mean, you tell what it's supposed to return. It's not the result of the function. It's just whenever the function is done, it will return.
Okay.
It can either return undefined or you can tell it to return something specific.
Okay.
And here we're saying specifically return the value of a plus b.
Okay.
Is that an instruction? Because like then you got some A and B, and it says A, you say return A plus B. So whenever you said like it's return A plus B, so wherever or anywhere along the course you put two variables and say return this, return the functionality told it that it should return A plus B. So you just sort of add the two numbers, add the two variables together.
It does two things here. First, it adds the numbers together, and then that will return a result in itself. But then after it's done adding them together, it will return whatever is the product of these two. So you could also split it up and make like a variable and say, let result equal A plus B. And then the next line, you would say, return result.
Yeah.
You can do that. But here it's like, it's just in one line.
But now there is a question.
Yeah.
But, you know, if you write like this, you will write more code. But if you just give a value, variable in the here, there is a return. You know.
Like you say let
a special
result is
variable
equal to
to A plus B.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here, if you alert the variable, you will get the same result.
I think
you need ret result.
Yeah,
equal
I got
to-
you. Just to confuse more, yeah, he's right.
Okay.
Let's do it.
That is shorter, yes?
Let's do it. Yeah. So console.log result, right? And then we can show this way, right? I don't want to do the alert because it's annoying. Yeah, I'm removing it instead of this. Okay. So let's see what is coming. It's showing the value of result is 3. And I totally follow what you're saying. He is mentioning this way.
No, you can put it inside of the.
Just need to not work, but let me. Sorry.
Or you want to just write sum here? Sum 1, 2? No, okay.
Yes, here result equal to A plus B.
Yeah.
Then here, if you call the function just a sum, you will get the result.
No, you won't. You just return.
Undefined.
It's going to return undefined.
Because that's a
Remember what?
function.
If he just calls this function now, what will the function return?
But it works if you write here sum in the brackets
Yeah,
1 plus 1 and 2, you
Oh,
will
yeah.
get 3.
that's true. If
It
the
doesn't work
code
because
was like
because you have to
before,
put the
but now he changed it, so now it won't. But you're right, you could just skip this step.
to define the parameter
Yeah.
and the function.
Oh yes, that's true. That's true. I need to pass this in 1 and 3, right?
Yeah, he also meant like instead of saving the value in variable, we want to
Oh, now the code is functioning in a really magic. Is this on purpose, right?
Yes.
No, it's not magic.
So basically, in the previous code here, this one, right? So here we have a return statement, right? We can also achieve the result is 3, right?
Yeah.
So we can achieve the same result without doing the return statement. See here, we define the variable there, we change the value result and call the function, and then we do this one as well. And if we do, let's say 2 and 2, it should say 4, right? It's doing the same thing.
even you can make it shorter.
It doesn't.
Sorry, if you delete this
Hmm?
and if you put this here, you can get the
Oh, that's true. That's true. That's
Yeah,
fine. That's fine.
another
That's
case.
it's another case.
This is okay. Maybe we should explain what just happened here because it's kind of funny, right? Now the code won't work, right?
No.
But
Yeah.
Why will it not work right now without this?
because you don't have that. Yeah.
No, you do have it here.
Because you don't
Yeah.
give them, for example,
Let.
Okay, so if you write let here and delete this, will it work?
Yes. Now
No.
it works.
No, it
But you get.
No,
don't
you
get
will not. You will
the
give
answer.
it. You will.
That's
you will
within
not.
the
You won't get the answer because there is no result variable outside of
Outside,
the
yes.
function.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because this result is inside.
Yeah.
It's only you can only access this
Yeah.
inside. Okay. So out here we can't use this one.
Also, you can do this way. Return this one and like this.
Yeah, that's good.
This is what you want, right? This is short.
Yes.
But
Yeah,
this
it-
one
it will also
cancels
work.
the-
Working as well.
It will also work.
Yeah.
You can
It's
change the
shorter.
value.
Because the goal is to get something from that function. We
Yes.
didn't get you don't create a function just to create it. You have to call it. So
Yeah.
when you call it, you get
Yeah.
something from it.
Yes.
That's they call it the return. Something you get from it. So if you show it to the user or not, you get it. So for example, if you don't make the console log, okay, you don't get anything showing. You don't see anything. But it's done. There is some inside the machine that is going on. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
You know what I'm
Okay, guys, I got you. I think this is very nice. You got some idea, and that was I needed. So the idea is like, I want you to go for a break now, for 15 minutes, long one, and take your lunch, and then we will do a crash. Crash what?
Crash course?
Crash course.
What is
Just
that?
building an website.
Oh.
Building a website.
Website with your existing knowledge.
Good.
Okay, and I need more than 1 hour, isolated. So basically, if I start now, then I have to have a break again, and it doesn't make make sense. Okay?
I'm sorry if I interrupted you.
No, it's fine. Actually, before we leave, did you have a question? Because I feel like we should wrap up.
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was thinking about defining a variable inside the function,
Yeah.
and then the return should equal to that function,
Yeah.
and then console log that variable outside. Would that work? But then I got an answer in my mind that it
Okay.
would be a local variable, so that's why it won't show outside.
So if we go back to the function,
It's just more code.
if you define a variable in here,
Yeah, let's
Return
say
the
we
variable.
say let result is equal to return a plus b.
all before let result equal ab and then return result, or
No,
Yeah.
Right.
Second line,
yeah.
let result equals to return a plus b.
Oh yeah, I don't think you can do that.
No,
You
no,
can't.
no, return.
Even
you
the
also
return-
write
Before here, or
No,
you want to write return right here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you can do that.
No,
It will
no.
not. It will not. It
Okay.
will not
But you
work.
Yeah, you have to start with return. And
Yeah.
you have
Okay.
to place it in the middle.
Okay.
And one thing more, when you're writing the code, you have to things to make it short because less code can load your website faster.
Yeah.
And if your website loads faster, you will come up in the Google.